Welcome to the Release Show. I'm your host, Brittany Sconyers. On today's show, we have Elizabeth Sutherland. She is an independent woman that's been able to stand her ground and raise her head high despite her painful past. She is now a thriving author with a book titled No Ordinary Liz, which highlights her journey through foster care and the quest for self-discovery. Ultimately, she is a triumph woman who is still blazing the trail of success and inspiring others to know their worth. Let's welcome Elizabeth.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. So before we dive into your past and your current successes, can you give us a brief overview of what it's like to walk in your shoes? What is it like to be Elizabeth?
All right, I sure can. So I am No Ordinary Liz. That's how I introduce myself because I believe my story is one that is almost too extraordinary to believe. But I'm a fair believer that lessons I've learned along the way, the tools that I use to help me survive, are ones that I feel like everyone can use, whether they're raising a family, going to school, just getting started, or running a business. So my journey began when I was 5 years old. My brother, sister, and I came to the U.S. by a man who I thought was our father. And he gave us to an elderly woman who called herself our grandmother. She mistreated us severely. And even now, as an adult, I have very little information about how I ended up in that hellish existence, to be honest. Here's what I do know. I was born in Spain, but didn't know my mother or father. My name is Elizabeth Sutherland, but I have no middle name. All I have to really identify my origin is a 3x5 piece of paper called a certificate of birth abroad. And it only just states that my birthday is June 9th. The man named John, who called himself our father, transported my siblings and I from Spain to America. He brought us to Margaret's house in North Carolina and dropped us off at her doorstep, saying only that she was our grandmother, and then he disappeared into thin air. So for 8 years, we lived in a rusty single-wide trailer. We were never once hugged, nor did we even know the word love. Margaret severely neglected us, emotionally and physically, abused us from day one. And I truly believe she resented us being there by making my brother, sister, and I kind of reimburse her for the price she paid with our blood, flesh, and tears. She would go, I remember she would isolate us from people, from other children, and even from television. Now, I know it sounds crazy, but as as a young child, TV was like the best. She denied us access to food and even went as far as to put a padlock on the refrigerator. Now, I know that, by then we were so well trained children that we constantly lived in fear, and we certainly wouldn't have touched the food or spoke out of turn just to, avoid her. We spent many weekends picking blackberries from the shrubs that were along the side of the road. I love to tell this story. We would wander down the two-lane curvy mountain road with our empty milk jugs in hand. We tried picking as many gallons of blackberries as we could so that we could sell them to buy school supplies. I didn't want much. I just wanted pencils, a backpack, a notebook, something that was just mine, because I just got tired of asking to borrow a piece of paper or a pencil when I would actually go to school. And not only that, it was just these tiny things gave me a sense of normalcy, like when I would just walk down the hall or open my locker. It kind of made me feel like I fit in with other students. So then my journey kept going, and then one day I was 13. And I just remember, standing at the sink, and I was washing dishes, and there was just a few drops of dishwashing like liquid that she would allow us to use to wash these dishes. And I just remember I had enough. I had enough beatings. I had enough starving. I really truly had enough fear. And so I ran out of the house and into the neighbor's trailer next door, and I begged them to make that fateful call to social services. And, I let them know that you can't miss us. We're three small children on the side of the road. Well, teens, early teens on the side of the road picking blackberries to come and get us, try to rescue us. And I didn't think it would happen, but it was just worth a shot. So the next day, while we were picking blackberries, a woman from Child Welfare Services arrived, and she took the three of us into foster care. And that's when my journey kind of began. And all along, I thought I was being saved. But truly, instead, the only family that I knew was torn apart. My brother was taken in one direction, while my sister and I went in another. I didn't even get to hug him goodbye. Like, I had no idea what was going on. And I just remember the last image I had of him was looking out, the rear view mirror or the back window of the car and just watching him drive away. And I could see him looking at me, and it was just like I didn't know what was going on. And I felt like he was really going out of, I wasn't going to see him for many, many years. And initially, so my sister and I ended up at a group home where we did share a bedroom. And I remember that we would cleave to one another, and we're just so thankful to at least have each other's company amongst strangers. But that was short-lived, because after a week, Child Welfare Services moved us to different foster families, and then it just kept going. I kept moving again and again. And after that, my life became so crazy. Like, I had no idea what path I would be on from one day to another. I remember that children came and went. I was going from home to home, in one school and then another, and I was meeting so many different caseworkers. It was totally like a revolving door. And it was a whirlwind for me. But then suddenly I graduated high school on June 4th and turned 18 on June 9th. I was an independent adult and no longer in foster care, and that was crazy. I had just achieved a legal age, and honestly, there was nothing about me that was prepared to be an adult. And just like that, I was on my own. And I do want to mention that I couldn't get adopted because I didn't know who my parents were, so therefore they couldn't terminate their rights. But had I've had that option to find my forever family, I would have loved to have had that. So instead, I just kind of aged out, and I barely had more than the clothes on my back when I truly exited foster care. I mean, I had no furniture, I had no bed, I had no friends, and really no adults to guide me. And of course, I was depressed a lot, and I just felt disconnected, and I fell in with the wrong crowd. I mean, at 18, you just kind of, excuse me, you just cling to having somebody. And, excuse me, and my life spun further out of control. But then something happened, and I got a job. And as I began to earn money and see a future, I started creating like family out of coworkers and friends. I enrolled and entered college, and by some miracle of fate, I did see my sister again at a party on the very same college campus that I was at. And a few years later, we found our brother. And I just want to say, it wasn't an easy journey. And by all means, I struggled to put myself through college, to earn 2 bachelor's degrees, sometimes working as many as 5 jobs at once just to survive. But I did, like, as I mentioned, I created a family at work and found stability and love. And I feel like I worked harder than most of the people I knew, and ended up becoming a valued employee at one of the #1 professional services firms in the world. But, I always say maybe things would have been different and my road easier if somewhere along my path in foster care, someone had taken the time to just explain things to me, to empower me and to prepare me for life, um, maybe I wouldn't have struggled so mightily. But that didn't happen. And instead, my extraordinary life made me someone who is by far from ordinary. Um, I had so many odds stacked against me, yet I was determined to not only thrive, but to succeed. And whenever I faced a challenge or a decision, I take flight and rely on these cornerstones that I truly believe was the foundation that helped me adapt in the world that was constantly shifting and moving. So I can share those with you if you, all right. So number one, it was always understand others. The first tenet in my system is learning to understand other people. I try to tell people don't judge others right away, but to try to see the world from their perspective.
That is
Other
very
people,
important. Sorry,
yes,
that is very important to understand people. I think a lot of times in life, that's the reason why people have a lot of conflict is because they don't
mhm,
understand the person. And
right,
sometimes you have to stop thinking that you're always right and understand other people's point of views and who they are. And I think that
right,
is very, very important if we just take a step back and understand the people that we have around us.
exactly. You hit the nail on the head. And I truly believe, other people's opinions and behaviors are often due to their past experiences. And by giving people truly understanding before judgment, you are giving them grace.
Yes.
And I know it's hard to trust, and you want to keep your armor in place. But there are some genuinely good people in the world who truly want to help you and better your life. And I am a true testament to that because my whole journey has been because of strangers, because people believed in me. When I turned, like I said, when I aged out and I moved into my mini apartment, I had no idea what it was like to balance a checkbook. I didn't even know how to write a check. Um, and I know it sounds so obsolete today, writing a check, but I still have my little checkbook. Um, but I would ask my neighbors, like I would knock on doors and just say, "Hey, I need some help. I need some guidance." And people were so open to wanting to help me. So I truly believe you got to understand others. The other I like to talk about is setting goals. I know all my life I have had to set goals, both long and short term. My short term was always the same every day, and it was to try to be the best person that I could absolutely be. Um, Albert Einstein once said, and I love this quote, was try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. And that's what I want, is to be a person of true value. Success is always secondary. But however, I was just as driven to achieve my long-term goals too. I remember when I was in high school, I had no idea that I was going to afford a college education. But it was my biggest dream, and I was determined to make it happen no matter what. It took a lot of hard work and dedication to make it to all my classes, um, but try to maintain good grades and still work up to 4 or 5 jobs just to pay the bills. But I truly believe my education has benefited me in so many ways, that I now have a great career and I get to work with wonderful people. And then another long-term goal, which I'm still striving for, is to meet my parents. I want them to see the person that I've become, as well as understand truly the why behind their decisions. And the choices I make today and tomorrow are just all part of these long-range goals of mine. Next up is be responsible. Um, Foster kids have to grow up much faster than other kids, who aren't in the foster care system. They have to be more responsible for themselves than other kids. I can't remember a day when I wasn't responsible and aware of what I had to do and how I had to behave and what expectations rested on my shoulders. But, that's okay, because learning to be responsible prepares you for adulthood and for life. So I always encourage people to just be courageous and be a leader, because in doing so, you truly might discover the same thing that I did when I stepped out of my own shadow, and skills and talents that you didn't even know you had, really.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember I tried to apply to every job that I could, because I truly believe that you should be prepared for every interview you go on with a truly understanding that you may not get the job. And while it's hard to take that no as you're not good enough, but to try to use it as an experience.
Mhm.
Um, and truly, most of all, don't be afraid to take chances. So, um, and I also had a belief system. And what I mean by that is, we all see the world through our own individual lenses.
Mhm.
Whether your belief system is built on God or not is totally up to you. But having some structure for what is right and wrong I truly believe, will serve you well when you
Yes.
need to make tough decisions. And I'm a true testament again that with faith and love in your life, you can accomplish anything. And I honestly don't know how I got through life without having something and faith to believe in. Um, and then I love this one. I love, and I want people to know your value. I want people to know that you're a valuable person. You're not a throwaway or a case file or just another number. Um, there is value in the gifts that I truly believe you bring into the world. Gifts you were given for a reason. And I always tell people, and I tell myself this, don't let other people put you down or convince you that you don't have value, because you do, and you have since your very first breath. So know your value, believe in it, and hold on to it every single day, because, you know, go live the life that you deserve.
That is so true. So I want to go back to your story. Okay. So some laws are put in place to prevent children from experiencing what you saw as a child. What happened the first time you informed the authorities about the poor treatment from your grandmother?
Going to school, that was a trigger, that knowing that there was something not right in the household. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember numerous times that, the teachers would come up to me and, ask if I was okay. And I was so afraid to just give her an inkling of what was going on at home, because I knew if I got home and the DSS or the Department of Social Services show up with the sheriff's car, that,
Mm-hmm.
we were expected to get a beating. And so I think for the longest time, like for several years, you know, that would happen. And of course, living in a trailer park, neighbors would see what was going on. They would always check on us. They were our truly our biggest advocates too. But no matter what our voice was, they never hardly ever came and I mean, they didn't take us until it was just to the point where, I had enough, and I was like, look, something's got to get done, because it could really be really bad for either of us.
So you talked about you and your siblings were separated and then you guys came back. Where are they at now?
So my sister is here in Florida. So, I had mentioned that when we went into foster care, we were all split up. Um, as my journey was progressing through and I was living my life, the furthest counties and cities that I got, I was separated from my sister.
Mm-hmm.
It had been 8 years since I had last seen her, and 13 years since I had last seen my brother. And my sister moved to Florida, right not too long after we graduated college. And I was like, you know what? I want to be near her, because 8 years is a long time to be separated. And you really got to have rekindle that relationship to kind of get to know each other again. So we are here together. And my brother, while we don't speak, I do know that he's doing well. And the last that I connected with him, he was in Boise, Idaho. So,
Okay. Is there a reason why you guys don't talk?
no, I mean, it's not like I haven't put forth the effort, but, I do believe, situations and circumstances are a little different for everyone. And maybe, our past is too much for him, or maybe who truly knows. But I definitely am giving him a space, and always let him know that I'm thinking of him, but hopefully one day he will reach out.
That's great. So let's talk about your book, No Ordinary Liz. What's the meaning behind that title and what inspired you to choose it?
So I am, I just feel like my journey through this life has not been ordinary. I've had some ups and downs, and my paths have been not a straight path. And I'm very unique. And I wrote my story to be able to provide, readers a glimpse of what it's like to take a walk in the shoes of a foster kid. And hopefully, after they read it, it helps them to better understand how they can help. And if someone is looking to be a foster parent, it's a guide to kind of help set that expectation of what it would be like to be a foster parent. And it's also a very resourceful book, because maybe you don't want to foster or adopt, but you want to get involved, and there's opportunities in there of ways that you can do so. And it's just an inspiring story. I want to encourage people that we all have a story,
Yes.
and that there's someone out there that wants to hear it. And so, and own it. I'm very excited about it, because again, and I always tell people that if I had to live the same way again, I would, because it's defined who I am, and it's made me no ordinary Liz.
Yes, I truly believe our stories and everything that we go through, the challenges, the hardships, the happy times, equipped us for who we are today and for our future. So you had to go through all of that in order for you to become who you are today.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you may have wanted things to be a little different, everything panned out to be exactly how it was supposed to be for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so your story is beautiful, and thank you for sharing it, because it's going to inspire others. It inspired me, and I'm not a foster care parent or a foster care kid. It opened up my eyes as well to understand what foster care kids go through and how the system is broken. And you just never know. I think it is so important for kids to know who their real biological parents are. I've always been an advocate for that. Like, I really want kids to know who their real parents are. And if they've passed away, you could still be able to do like some research on them. And I know how hard it is for you not to know who your parents are, and how you really want to find out who they are. And I really hope one day that you do. I really, really do.
Thank you.
Many people go through stressful times in their lives and don't bother to share with others. What convinced you to compile a history into a book?
I feel like, the unfortunate things that could have defined me are actually the extraordinary things that help mold me. Um, and that's the message that I really want to share, is that don't be defined by the past, or by your obstacles. Because again, look at them as opportunities to shape your life. And I wanted to share my story again, to show, what, this happened to me, but it doesn't define me. It's made me stronger. And I love to tell people that it's no longer my story that I'm writing or telling. It's their story. It's the foster youth who are currently fighting every day for their life, to have a chance at life, to give them the boost that they need to go chase their life, and show that, no matter what their circumstances are, that they can achieve greatness. Because I've made it, I've made it on the other side, and I want to help them get there as well.
That's great. You also have a blog filled with a lot of content geared towards personal development. What inspired you to create this website?
So it started out and it really is just more of a lifestyle. So I love food. I love working with restaurants and sharing, their experiences. I love traveling. I like a little bit of everything in life, and I feel like you need to share it with others. And I also truly believe in having others write for you as well. So I do offer a lot of guest posts because I want to share that variety. But I just love, collaborating with others and helping others get their stories or products out there for others to view and share.
That's great. From our conversation so far, we can deduce that you're a goal-oriented individual and a leader. Where do you see yourself in the future?
Oh, I hope that I can continue to advocate for these foster youth. My goal one day is to create a No Ordinary Liz community, like a tiny home community for youth who have aged out and don't have anywhere to go. I hope that it will be able to be like a little community where it will be about building foundational skills for them and teaching them the basics to living and hopefully going to college. So that's my long-term goal, and each day I'm working towards it. But I also just want to continue to be a better me and continue to be a voice for those who don't have a voice.
That is incredible. I like that you want to have your own house and bring in the aged out kids from foster care and help them. That's amazing.
Thank you. Think about it. 23,000 youth age out every year.
Wow, 23,000.
23,000. Yes. So I feel like we as a society can hopefully do our best to wrap our arms around each one of those foster youth to kind of help them be a success story. Because I was one of those 23,000. I was a statistic. And because somebody believed in me, I'm here today. So
what an amazing story. Finally, what advice do you have for children that are currently living with a toxic family?
Again, don't lose yourself. And I would always just encourage them to keep fighting, reach out, know who your support system is, and do whatever it takes to get the help that you need.
Please let everyone know how they can purchase your amazing book.
Thank you.
How they can continue to follow your journey as you continue to follow your dreams and everything that you have set for your life.
So my book is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all of the bookstores, and Walmart and Target. And it is No Ordinary Liz by Elizabeth Sutherland. And it's a quick read with the intention that foster youth would pick it up and read it. But it's really for anyone who is fighting that fight or is curious about foster care. And I am on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter at No Ordinary Liz, and my blog is noordinaryliz.com. So I would love to have you reach out. And if you are interested in foster care or adoption, or if you currently are looking for a mentor for foster youth, please reach out to me because I would love to connect.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Elizabeth. Your story was so inspiring to me, and I know that it was inspiring to other people. Thank you guys for tuning in to the show. I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right.